guys, today we're going to be going over what it takes to make a chart from start to finish in Musescore. So starting with the Musescore program open, I'll hit New Score. You can see we've got a lot of options on what we want to be scoring out, and we're simply just going to use the treble clef and hit done. That'll open up our new score. The first thing you might want to know about Musescore is a little bit more of how it's laid out. On the left-hand side, you're going to see your entry palettes. If you click the caret next to any of those palettes, it'll open up, and you can see all of your options of what you can add to your score. The first thing we're going to do is title our score. Today we're going to be scoring All Day Long by LCBC Worship. Because we only have one arrangement of this song, I'm not going to use a subtitle. Once I have my title and composer in, I can add in my key signature and time signature. Those are available on the left-hand side palette entry. If you click the drop down next to the key signature, you can enter your key signature by dragging in the key signature you prefer, or you can click on the first measure and click on the key signature. The time signature of this is 4/4, but if I happen to need a different time signature, same process for that. You can either drag it in, or you can click on it with the measure selected. We want to add a tempo to this song, so I'll choose the appropriate note value, and then I'll change the tempo once I add it into my score. As you can see, the entry on Musescore is as simple as double click and type. A lot of how we make charts from here is pretty subjective in the order in which you prefer to do it, so I'll show you my preferred way. The first thing I like to do is create the general form, so I'm going to outline the form and put in my rehearsal marks first. The intro has a pickup measure and then 4 bars, so I'll click on the 5th measure, click on layout, and this tool right here is a system break. That'll jump everything to the next line after that measure. At this point, I'm going to want to add in my rehearsal mark. Since that pickup measure with the drum fill happens over the count in, I'm going to put my intro mark here. For rehearsal marks, click the text drop down, and you're going to use the rehearsal mark. You can drag that in, double click, and change it to the word that you're looking for. The one other thing you might want to know is as you're doing this, Musescore automatically formats for you. And so a lot of what we're doing with the layout tool is forcing the formatting that we would prefer. For rehearsal marks, we want to make sure that we use all capital letters. If a section's repeated, we can add repeats by opening up the drop down of repeats and jumps and dragging in a forward facing and a backward facing repeat bar. So as you can see, I've gotten to the point where I need more measures. To add more measures to my score, I'll click Add, Measures, Insert at End of Score. I'm going to add an arbitrary amount because I still have plenty of scoring left to do. If you accidentally input too many measures and you need to delete some, select the measures you'd like to delete and click Delete Measures. Whenever you delete a measure, it will also delete out your formatting, so you'll need to redo that. So as you can see, bridge 1, we're going to do a normal repeat. Bridge 2, we're actually going to do a second ending. So I'm going to put in my repeat marks first, and then I'll drag in my first and second ending. To continue formatting, I'm going to add in my double bar lines at the end of each section that doesn't have a repeat. You can find any bar lines under the bar line palette. Don't forget to save your work along the way. When you click save, you'll have the option to save to the cloud or save to your computer. All right, so let's talk about if you want to add in notation for a lead line that potentially more than one instrument's going to follow. So the intro of this song, the electric guitar plays it, but the bass also follows the lead line, which is a great opportunity to write in the actual notation of what's being played. So we're going to focus in on this intro. We can click the letter N for note entry, or you can click the pencil up here. As you can see, this is your note entry palette, and you have different values of notes. The first note I want to select is an 8th note, and I just want to drop it into wherever I'm playing. This one right here is going to need a tie. I'm going to enter the note first and then click tie. as soon as I click tie, it's going to tie it to another note of the value that I have selected. So it'll tie it to another eighth note. So here I want to tie this to a whole note holding into the next measure. So I'm going to change to a whole note selection and then click tie. To get out of note entry, press the letter N, or you can click the pencil to turn it off. That same lead line happens over this interlude, so I'm going to copy these measures and paste them into that interlude as well. Before I enter my chords, I'm going to make note of any spots in the song that have a rhythm that is not strictly on beats 1, 2, 3, or 4, such as the chorus of this song. The chorus of this song has a syncopated rhythm hitting on 1 and the and of 2. That's going to require me to write in a rhythm to be sure my chords are falling on the right beat. I'll click on that measure and press N to enter note entry, and I'll write in the rhythm of where I need the chords to be sitting. I pressed N to get out of note entry, and now I'm going to enter my chord in by pressing Command K, typing in my chords. If you want this rhythm to be seen, select the notes, and then click Tools, toggle rhythmic / notation. If you'd prefer this rhythm is not seen, once you have your chords entered, delete each of the notes, select your measure, and fill with slashes. That will allow the note to stay over top of the beat that it's on without having to see the rhythm. At this point, I have my tricky rhythms written in, and I'm ready to fill the rest of my score with slashes. Remember to fill a measure with slashes, click the measure, click Tools, and then fill with slashes. For multiple measures to fill at one time, hold the Shift key and select multiple measures, Tools, and fill with slashes. As you can see, what just happened is the formatting changed a bit. If you're running into this problem, click your layout tool and use the tool Keep Measures on the Same System for where you're seeing the measure break. This layout tool is going to be your best friend as you are continuing to fill with slashes. Remember, use Keep Measures on the Same System when you want to force measures onto the same line. I've got one more tricky rhythm to write in here, so I've pressed N for note entry, and I want to enter in a dotted quarter note. So I'm going to select the quarter note, and then I'm going to add the dot, and then I need an eighth note tied to a half note. I'll hit note entry since I'm done entering. The note's actual pitch don't matter a ton here since I'm going to change this toggle to rhythmic / notation. Alright, you can see this is starting to look like it's coming together. Next thing I want to do is add in my chords. You may remember from earlier, there is a command to add in chords. You're going to select the beat you want to add. Command K on your keyboard will enter the chord. We're going to be doing what we can to work smarter, not harder. So this chorus is exactly the same as the first chorus, other than that last measure. So I'll select that and copy it. At this point, we have our chords written in and we're ready to add text that's going to help give direction to the band and the worship leader as to what's being played in each section. On the side over here, we can drop down the text palette. We're going to use staff text because that sits above the staff. You can enter that by dragging it in and then change the text by double-clicking and changing what the text says. You also can add that by clicking on the measure you want it to be added to and clicking staff text. These can be dragged around into different positions and formats to best suit your score. But don't get too hung up right now on the formatting. That's the last thing we're going to do. All right, now we have our chords, we have our directional text, we have our rehearsal marks, and we have our general formatting down. Now it's time to put the icing on the cake and to put the finishing touches on this chart. The first thing you might be thinking is these rehearsal marks look a little bit big and our directional text isn't in italics. I want to show you a great shortcut to make that all happen at the same time. If you select your whole score, click on one of your directional texts, right click on it, and click Select Similar in Range. That's going to select every single one of your directional text in the whole score. Now, Musescore is extremely flexible in that it allows you to really change whatever you want about any of the previously set things that it's given you in these entry palettes by clicking properties. So as you can see now, I have the ability to change even the font if I want. I can change it to bold, italics, underline, strikeout. We can change pretty much anything that we're hoping to change about the way that this text looks. So it's at this point right now that I'm just going to click italics, and really fast I was able to make every single one of those directional texts look the way that we are used to it looking on charts. In the same way, I think Musescore creates rehearsal marks a little bit big for what we're used to. So I'm going to select the whole score, right click, select similar in range on one of those rehearsal marks. And I'm going to bring those all the way down to a 10-point font, which seems a little bit more appropriate to keep everything looking very uniform. The one other thing that I typically do is I also think it puts your chords relatively high above where they need to sit on top of the measure. So I'm going to select that whole chart. I'm going to right click the chords, select similar in range, and actually all you can do is just drag them down, and it drags every single chord down with it. So as you can see, it's already starting to auto format a little bit. Now that you're looking at this score as a whole, we can start to really make decisions about, okay, is everything sitting the way I want it to? Does it have enough room between measures to be able to read those directional texts, to be able to read the rehearsal marks, to read the measure marks? And honestly, this first page is looking a little bit crowded, so I'd kind of prefer that something sit over here. So you can do one of a few different things. We can hit a page break here at the end of bridge 2, which will force that chorus onto the next page. But now you might be looking at this and thinking, wow, that spacing looks a little bit awkward on that second page. So if you want to change the spacing between systems, this is the staff spacer, and this will allow you, once you drop it in, to move measures closer together or further apart in whatever kind of direction or way that you want. Once again, Musescore is really flexible with what it allows you to do. So I typically put these into every single break and then adjust as I might need. I like to do this at the end of my score though, because this does make things look quite crowded if you're trying to look at this and double check that a score is correct. So I'm just giving a little bit more room anywhere where there's directional text, making sure that people definitely can read the things that we've written in. Then the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure all of these rehearsal marks are in line with each other. And there you have it, a whole score from start to finish in Musescore. One other important thing that I show you is a nuance in the time signature of 6/8. Whenever we're entering into 6/8, it's automatically, if you fill measures with slashes, it's automatically going to give you dots along with the slashes, which is not something that we are used to in charts. So in the same way that we have done with formatting our other score, select all of your measures with the dots that you want to remove, right click the dot, select similar in range, and then click properties and uncheck the box that says visible. This will make it appear like almost like a ghost whenever you look at it here, but if you open it to print it, those dots have disappeared. So you'll still see a ghost of it on your score whenever you're working in Musescore, but as long as you've selected your whole score, selected all of the similar dots within the range, and unchecked the box on visible, that will allow formatting for the slashes with no dots.